And welcome back to the NFLandU podcast. I'm your host, as always, Hayden Vassar, and happy MLK Day to everyone who's listening. And, well, now we know who's going to be in Super Bowl 54, don't we? It down in Miami. And you know what? Out of all the possible matchups that we could have gotten, this one feels like the best one, doesn't it? The one that we got. So we're going to get into all that when we get into recaps. We'll also play a new game towards the end of the show because I feel a need to fill airtime, and I wasn't happy with the idea that we were just going to do like a 20-minute show, so I decided to throw in a new game in there. Why not? But before we do any of that, we have a little bit of news to get to, so why don't we get into that? So, in news, on Friday, it was announced that former Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett will be taking over as the New York Giants offensive coordinator. Now, I know what you're thinking. I can already tell. I can already hear the groaning. I can already tell. Oh no, here we go again. Hayden's going to sit here and rant about Jason Garrett. I thought we were over this. I thought we were past this. Well, I'm going to throw you a changeup. And since you're not the Houston Astros, I know you didn't see that one coming. Boom, baseball burn. Anyway, I digress. This is exactly what the Giants needed. I won't say it's a great hire because it's not a sexy hire. It's not going to get the fan base pumped, but it's what the Giants needed to do. After they hired Joe Judge to be their head coach, I said they needed to pull a Los Angeles Rams, didn't I? That they need to go out and hire a coordinator who has head coaching experience. And what did they do? They go out and hire a guy who has 10 years of head coaching experience to come help Joe Judge transition into being a head coach and lend some legitimacy to his, I don't want to say administration, but his tenure. There you go, that's a better word. Tenure as the Giants head coach. Also, Jason Garrett has a really great record in the NFC East despite all of his faults. He has a really great record. I mean, he hasn't lost to the New York Football Giants in like 3 years when he was the head coach at Dallas. So maybe that lends like a psychological advantage to these players. You know, we haven't beaten him in years, and now he's on our side. Maybe that makes us a bit better. I don't know. I'm just saying. He's also an offensive-minded guy. So that's what they really need. They need somebody that can come in and help develop Daniel Jones to some degree, because that needs to be the big focal point right now, is the continued growth of your young quarterback in Daniel Jones. That should be the main point. This is just what the doctor ordered. What I'm getting at is whether you like Garrett or not, and I've been on record that I am not a fan, this is exactly what the Giants needed. They needed this big time. And I can't believe I just praised Jason Garrett. The end times must really be upon us. But it'll be interesting to watch how they go forward, the Giants, because they do have offensive talent. They really do. They got Evan Ingram, they got Saquon Barkley, they got Golden Tate, they got Sterling Shepard. They got guys. Oh, they also have Slayton, Darius Slayton, the young rookie. They have talent out the freaking wazoo. So it'll be interesting to see what Jason Garrett draws up and how they look. But I am willing to bet an infinite amount of money that the Week 1 game for both of these teams is New York Giants at Dallas Cowboys Sunday Night Football. I am willing to bet an infinite amount of money for like the 8th year out of the last 10. That always seems to be the go-to. So that was the only bit of news that I had. So let's get into what we all came here for, the recaps. And let's start first with the AFC Championship game, the good game. Tennessee at Kansas City. Kansas City wins 35-24. Mahomes once again puts on a stellar show, and the defense quiets Winter Storm Derrick Henry to bring the long, torturous drought that Chiefs fans have experienced to a conclusion. So, start of the game, everybody's pumped, everybody's here to watch to see if the Titans can pull off another upset, and the game started out eerily similar to last week's Ravens game, didn't it? The home team was making some mistakes. They had some penalties that were keeping drives alive for the Titans. And the Road Warrior Titans were capitalizing on those mistakes. And suddenly, within a blink of an eye, are up double digits. 10-0 to be exact. In the first quarter, they were up 10-0, and you're thinking, oh, no, this is bad. This was a worst case scenario. Because it's one thing to come back against the Texans. 24-0 is one thing. This Titans team is built to sit on a lead and slowly bleed you to death. Because they have the best closer in the league in Derrick Henry, who could just wallop you and turn you black and blue and bleed that clock. So if they get up any kind of lead, even if it's just a 1-point lead, that's troublesome. That is very, very troublesome. I mean, just ask the Ravens and Patriots. It's one thing to go down against the Texans. It's another thing to go down against these Titans. But the Chiefs won't lay down to anybody, as the Texans learned out and as the Titans learned very quickly. As Mahomes put the entire team on his back as they rallied all the way back to take a 21-17 lead going into halftime, thanks in large part to the magic by Mahomes. His running ability was truly fantastic in this game. Picked up some crucial first downs. And then that rushing touchdown he had right before halftime. It was like a 21-yard rushing touchdown in the stat book? But Next Gen Stats looked at that play and said, yeah, he ran about 64 total yards going sideways on that play. It was just truly incredible. It was one of the better plays we've seen all season. And that felt like a massive turning point in that game because that was the play that the Chiefs took the lead on, that rushing touchdown by Mahomes right before halftime. And now it's 21-17 going into halftime. Chiefs are feeling really great. They came all the way back again. They're up 4 points. And for the Titans, they also had to be feeling pretty nice about what they were doing too, because it's only a 4-point game. And if you've learned anything about these Tennessee Titans, it's that, hey, it doesn't need to be they don't need to have a lead necessarily. They just have to keep it close. Keep it close late, and they have a really great shot at winning the game. So both teams had to be, sitting pretty and at least fine with the results. Let's say that. I wouldn't say happy, but they're fine with the results. They had to like their chances going into halftime. And that halftime setup looked to, give way to a marvelous second half. These two teams looked to be, just teared up in the second half. And for most of the third quarter, it wasn't necessarily that. The Titans offense started to stall a bit. Derrick Henry wasn't able to get much more running room. They were closing him down. And it turned into a pump bonanza as neither team scored any points in the third quarter. But in the third quarter, that's when it happened. That's when suddenly things changed, and it changed fast for the Titans, because the Chiefs started a drive in the late third quarter that ate up about 8 minutes of game time off the clock, and capped it off with a touchdown early in the fourth quarter. And if you go back and watch that drive, it looked very similar to the kind of drives we've seen the Titans do to teams the last 2 weeks. A lot of run plays, a lot of quick stuff, and bleeding the clock, and just wasting time, and just slowly sucking the life out of the other team. For the first time in literally weeks, the physical bully that the Tennessee Titans are was getting bullied right back, and they didn't know what to do. It was stunning to watch. Now, thanks to that touchdown in the early fourth quarter, now the Chiefs are suddenly up 11, and it's desperation time for the Titans. They get the ball back, don't do anything with it. Then the Chiefs get the ball back, and Patrick Mahomes decides, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and put the nail in the coffin, and hit Sammy Watkins on a 60-yard touchdown bomb to basically put the game out of reach. And that was Sammy Watkins' first touchdown since week 1 versus the Jags, and he had a really great game in this one. It was just, my goodness, the Chiefs were showing that they can win in a variety of different ways, and they can switch on the fly in the middle of a game. That they can be a defensive stalwart team, a team that runs the ball a lot, and then guess what? Hey, we'll uncork a 60-yard mega bomb through the air on you in the blink of an eye. This team is ferocious, and they were dangerous. Now, That set them up like, what was it, like 18 plus points about halfway through the fourth quarter. Tannehill led a quick scoring drive, but it was a case of too little, too late. And Tannehill got sacked on a fourth down later in that, a couple drives later, and that was effectively sealed the deal. And it finally gifted the Chiefs their first Super Bowl appearance in 50 freaking years, man. A lot of those people have been waiting a long time for this. But I have to say, Mahomes played brilliantly in this game. Let me get you some stat lines real quick. You ready for this? Mahomes went 23 of 35 for 294 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 2 sacks. All right? He also rushed 8 times for 53 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He was his team's leading rusher today. I mean, on Sunday, yesterday. He like I said, he put that entire team on his back again for the second week in a row. And you got to realize, Travis Kelce really wasn't involved in the game plan. Not game plan, the game. He only had 2 catches for 30 yards. Tyreek Hill had 2 touchdown catches, but in terms of yards, didn't do a whole lot. It all went to Sammy Watkins, who finally reemerged in this offense. 7 catches, 114 yards, and 1 touchdown. Like I said, his first receiving touchdown since week 1. Week 1. Oh, it's just unheard of. So Mahomes was nothing short of brilliant. But you know what was equally brilliant in this game? That Chiefs defense. That defensive performance was top notch. Titans got the ball to start the game, okay? And they drive all the way down to the red zone. And, we've heard it all week long. Titans have had the best red zone offense this season. They get nothing but touchdowns. You know what the Chiefs do? They get backed up into a corner, and they come out swinging, and they stop them in the red zone. They hold them to a field goal. And that set the tone for the entire game, as they held Derrick Henry to 69 rush yards. Nice. But they quieted Henry. They took him out of the game. And that, in part, took the Titans out of their game plan. The Chiefs are the first team in a very long time to force the Titans to do something else. Here's how you know they did something else. You ready for this? Ryan Tannehill threw the ball 31 times. And you're thinking, okay, that's about normal for a quarterback. While you're right, Tannehill hasn't had to throw the ball 31 times in weeks. That's what the Titans' game plan always was. Run Derrick Henry 26 to 30 times, and Tannehill throws for about 18 to 25 passes. That's normally his range. But now you have him out here attempting 31, in large part because they were down. But still, they forced him out of their game plan. They did to the Titans what the Titans did to the Ravens and the Patriots. Like I said before, the bully got bullied back, and it was tremendous to watch. That's something we really haven't seen from the Chiefs. They're showing you they can play physical and bleed the clock. Oh my gosh, this team is good, y'all. I said it back in early December that this team was becoming that complete team you want to see that could make a Super Bowl run. And now they're here. They're going to the freaking Super Bowl, people. For the Chiefs fans, this has to be a truly historic day. Sunday. They finally ended the heartbreak that they had suffered for years. They got redemption for how the season ended last year, losing in the AFC Championship game in overtime in Kansas City to the Patriots. Finally got redemption for that. And now are finally back in the Super Bowl after 50 years. The last time they were in the Super Bowl? Super Bowl 4, when they beat the Minnesota Vikings. Now they're in Super Bowl 54. How nice is that, huh? Chiefs fans have endured so much heartbreak and torture in those 50 years, especially, for the better part of this last decade. They had all those heartbreaking results in the wild card and divisional round, like that insane comeback that the Colts had against them in wild card round a couple of years ago, or that loss to the Titans in wild card round a couple of years ago as well. It was always just something crazy and absurd every single time the Chiefs were in the playoffs, that it would always end in such heartbreak. And, they brought Andy Reid to Kansas City, after he got let go from Philadelphia, to finally get over the hump. And now they finally did it. In the year 2020, The Lamar Hunt Trophy, the AFC Championship, the Lamar Hunt Trophy, was presented to current Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, who is Lamar's son. That's perfect, man. That's picture perfect. You don't get better than that, man. Lamar Hunt, really left a striking legacy on the NFL. He was the guy who originally coined the term Super Bowl for the original one when the Chiefs played the Packers in the very first one. And now, all these years later, his team finally gets another shot to bring the trophy home. Hey, man, that's a great story in and of itself. And you know what? Good for Andy Reid. I grew up as a Cowboys fan. Through my early years, Andy Reid's Eagles would always just routinely stomp on my team. But man, I always liked Andy Reid. I really, really did. And in the early 2000s, those Eagles were a really great team, a constant fixture deep in the playoffs, went to a couple NFC championship games, and then went to the Super Bowl in 2004 and lost to the Patriots. And I really think that game really has stuck with Andy Reid all these years. All the questions about does he know how to manage the clock, his quarterback Donovan McNabb throwing up in the huddle, Terrell Owens out there playing on a broken leg, and you lose by 15. I mean, I think that really has stuck with him. And now all these years later, he finally has a shot at redemption, and you love to see it. And Andy Reid becomes the 7th coach in NFL history to lead 2 separate teams to Super Bowls in their career. Another highlight moment in the Hall of Fame career, in my opinion, of head coach Andy Reid. And now he has a really great shot to finally get that ring, his ring, that he feels like he's been long overdue to finally win it. It would be the cherry on top of that Hall of Fame career. And like I said before, I would be rooting for whoever came out of the AFC. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. Let's go, Andy, man. It's time. Get that ring, baby. Get that ring. For the Titans, it was a fun ride, wasn't it? As chief member of the bandwagon, it was a fun ride. Titans are sitting pretty, though. They really are. I mean, you got some tough decisions to make in the offseason with Ryan Tannehill. He needs a new contract, and Derrick Henry is technically a free agent after this. You got some tough decisions, but you know what? I think Mike Vrabel really showed he's a good coach with with a lot of aggressive tendencies in this game. Titans, I know you can't really hang your head high after losing, but you're going to be in good position going forward. There are no guarantees you'll ever be back. There never is. But you know what? Out of all the AFC teams, I kind of like you the most. You're on my positive side. So I know it sucks, Titans fans, but I think you're in good position. So once again, Chiefs win 35-24. Mahomes saves the day again, and they're going to the freaking Super Bowl in Miami to get Andy Reid his ring. And we're moving on to the next game, the NFC Championship. Green Bay at San Francisco. San Francisco wins this one 37-20. That San Francisco defense and run game just flat out suffocates the Packers en route to a mostly one-sided win. This game felt over before it even started, didn't it? It did, as the 49ers jumped out to an early 27-0 lead going into halftime, as the Packers offense simply just couldn't get out of the starting gate. The 2 first-half turnovers by Rodgers, the 1 interception, and the fumbled snap not just shoot themselves in the foot, they just shot their foot completely off the bone. I mean, good Lord. Their offense couldn't get anything going. The offensive line couldn't protect Rodgers. And then to top it all off, their defense could not stop the running game. As Raheem Mostert doesn't just have a great day, he has one of the greatest days by a running back in playoff history ever. Let me read you the stat line. You ready for this one? Raheem Mostert, 29 rushes, 220 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns. That is absurd numbers. Raheem Mostert had the best rushing day in 49ers history in terms of the postseason. No 49er running back has ever rushed for more yards in a postseason game than Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert now holds the title of second most rushing yards in a playoff game in NFL history during the Super Bowl era. Only the great Eric Dickerson has more rushing yards in a postseason game. And that's only like 20 yards more than what Raheem Mostert did in this game. It was absurd. They just wide open running lanes, just left and right. The 49ers racked up 288 total rushing yards in this game. 288! They were averaging 7 yards a carry. The Packers just had no answers for it. None. Zilch. Zero. Nothing. Nothing going on. And to quote their head coach Kyle Shanahan after the game, if it's working, stay with it. He's right, and it worked. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo threw, 8 passes? Let me see. Look at my notes. Yeah. Jimmy GQ, as the NFL Network called him, and I will now officially call him that, Jimmy GQ went 6 of 8 for 77 yards, 1 sack. He threw 8 passes. This is an offense out of 1922. This is something that the current Navy football team runs. But it worked, didn't it? It worked. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, my man. And it wasn't broke, and they didn't fix it. You know what I'm saying? Now, 49ers offense was great, but in the second half, Packers started to get some momentum as Aaron Rodgers started to just let it rip and fly. As they put up 20 points in the second half, and they made it a 14-point game halfway through the fourth quarter. Started making things a little interesting. Started to get a little nervous in San Francisco, if you know what I'm saying. But the 49ers got the ball back and put together a lengthy field goal drive that took a couple minutes off the board. And that ballooned it back up to 17 points. And it felt like the air kind of got let out of the Packers' balloon a little bit. After that field goal drive, it was like, okay, maybe this just isn't the Packers' day. And then door just got slammed shut after Aaron Rodgers got picked off by Richard Sherman, who he had avoided for the vast majority of the game. But then he went to, I think it was Adams deep, and Sherman just picked it off. And that was the nail in the coffin for the Packers in this one, as it sealed it. But you know what? When you watch this game, it was the same old story for the Packers that's haunted them this entire season, that doomed them. Their inability to stop the run and their lack of offensive firepower just doomed them. I mean, the 49ers put up 37 points. Packers don't have a chance. They're not built to put up points anymore. That's just not who they are. I mean, I know you got Rodgers, but still, I mean, you're asking that a lot of, like, Alan Lazard and Jimmy Graham. I mean, these guys just don't got it. Let's call a spade a spade. It doomed them from the jump. And it's easy to get around those flaws that the Packers have when they played the schedule that they did, because they played a very, very soft schedule. I mean, the Lions, Washington, Giants, and those were teams they really struggled against. It's easy to get around those flaws when you play those bad teams, but when you're playing against an upper echelon team, one of the better teams in the NFL and the 49ers, your flaws are going to get exposed. They just are. And that's what happened in this game. We saw how horrifically flawed this Packers team is, despite being 13-3. Aaron Rodgers went 31-39 for 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. I just want to take a moment to talk about the Packers, because I think people think I'm a Packers hater. I'm not necessarily a Packers hater. I just think they've massively overachieved for what they were supposed to be. This was supposed to be a transition year, a rebuilding year, and here they are at 13-3. Granted, like I said, they played a very soft schedule. I think they can be much better than this. I think Packers fans, go into this offseason, retool that defense a little bit. You could use maybe a couple more guys in the secondary. What you really need, you need to reload on offense. I get that you really like your guys, and Alan Lazard and Jimmy Graham, and I know I'm forgetting some other guys. Geronimo Allison, I think, is on there. You need to reload. Go get some offensive firepower. Go get some big bang guys. And you'll have a better shot, I promise you. Because what you got now, it really isn't, passing the smell test. But here's the thing about the Aaron Rodgers. I want to say it real quick. I don't mean this to dog on him, but this shows how hard it is to get to a Super Bowl. That Aaron Rodgers has ever been to one. One of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen in anybody's lifetime. Only ever been to one. I know Tom Brady made it look so freaking easy when he's gone to like 9 of them, but Tom Brady only ever been to one. I mean, not Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers only ever been to one. Drew Brees only ever been to one. It shows how incredibly hard and difficult it is just to even have a shot to go, let alone get there in and of itself. As Aaron Rodgers once again goes home very upset on Championship Sunday. Back to talking to the 49ers, because they deserve a ton of praise for this game. Their defense played phenomenal. Their run game was eccentric. But this has to be a bittersweet victory. If you're watching the game, you noticed in the first half, Tevin Coleman, one of their running backs, suffered at first when it happened, I thought he almost broke his hand. But they're saying it's a shoulder injury, so we'll keep an eye on that going forward to see if he'll be able to go in 2 weeks for the Super Bowl. Like I said, it's a very, very bittersweet victory as one of your guys goes down. But it has to be very encouraging to see how much Raheem Mostert stepped up. And you know what? Can we get a real round of applause for Raheem Mostert? You know the San Francisco 49ers are the 7th team he's been on? 7th different team since he came into the league. An undrafted rookie, went to the Eagles, got cut. Browns, got cut. He went to the Jets, didn't even make it past their practice squad, got cut. And a variety of other teams, Bears as well, until he finally ended up in San Francisco, where he became part of this 3-headed King Ghidorah-like monster backfield that they have going on. And he has one of the greatest rushing days in NFL playoff history, en route to leading his team to the Super Bowl. I mean, you just love to see it. Love to see a guy finally get what he's earned. It's truly special. Now for the 49ers, they're going to their first Super Bowl since 2012 when Colin Kaepernick led them there. They had a really great shot at winning that one, but came up on the short end. The last time they won the Super Bowl, 1994, with Steve Young. I think they beat the Chargers in that one, didn't they? It was either the Chargers or the Bengals. I can't really remember. Anyway, first chance to win a Super Bowl since 2012. Last won it since 94. It felt right. You know, this 49ers team really is great. Their defense is phenomenal, and they just have a great energy about them, don't they? I'm really digging this pro wrestling persona that they keep putting on for the public. It's really fun and entertaining to watch. And man, wasn't it really special to watch Mike Shanahan hand the George Halas Trophy to his son Kyle at the podium? That was really awesome, man. That was really sweet and cool. I'm just going to sit here and gush about a blowout. This really wasn't that entertaining of a game, I'm going to be honest. It really wasn't, was it? So once again, San Francisco wins a great defensive run game effort and eliminates the Packers, and the 49ers go into the Super Bowl in Miami. So if you're keeping score at home, here's the Super Bowl 54 matchup in Miami. 49ers and their stonewall defense and marvelous run game versus the Chiefs, who have the best quarterback in the league. I think we can all agree at this point. And Andy Reid getting one more shot at getting a ring. It's actually the first postseason matchup between these two teams ever. Believe it or not, it really is. 49ers are 5-1 all-time in Super Bowls, and the Chiefs are 1-2 all-time in Super Bowls. I think we got a great matchup in so many regards in both players on the field and in terms of coaching. Kyle Shanahan is a freaking genius in terms of play calling, and so is Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy. Oh, and don't forget Robert Saleh, the guy who should have gotten a head coaching job, is doing a tremendous job with that 49ers defense. We're going to break that all down over like the next week and a half before we get to the Super Bowl. But man, I think we're blessed. We're going to have a really great Super Bowl, and I'm pumped for it. So that's it for the recaps. And I promised earlier that we would play a game at the end of this show. And we've gotten through with recaps, and play a game we shall. I now proudly present to you the first annual installment of the quarterback carousel. I can't do sound effects, so I have to hum it. The rules of this game are simple. We have 4 teams here who have quarterback issues, let's say. I think that's a polite way to say it. Basically meaning we're not entirely sure who will be their starting quarterback next year. Now, this will be a game we play every year as long as this podcast is still airing. And this is our first time doing it. Our objective is simple. We are going to try and figure out who is the most likely person to be that team's starting quarterback in 2020. Sound simple? Sound fair? All right, let's get into it. And I think the best place to start is the team that everyone's going to be talking about this offseason, trying to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. You know it, you love it, the New England Patriots. Will Brady stay or will Brady go? What will Tom Brady do? It will be talked about to death this offseason. So prepare yourselves now, and since I don't want to do it in July when everybody else is doing it, I'm getting it out of the way now. The word on the street is Tom Brady wants money. Like money. He wants to be paid. And you know what? Normally, when you look at, annual quarterback salaries, Tom Brady's doesn't usually command a whole lot of money. And that's helped the Patriots over the years to help them go get free agent guys that other teams are passing on. But now, he's towards the end of his career. I think he's wanting one last paycheck. He wants more than what he's been getting. So for the Patriots, the question is, will they be willing to pay for that? They also have to look at the idea if they bring Brady back, they're going to have to really retool this offense and go get some more guys to help out, because this current receiving core, es muy no bueno, es muy mal, very bad, very, very bad. These guys couldn't fight their way out of a soaking wet paper bag if they tried to. So, if they have to bust the bank for Brady, maybe they're going to have to cut corners in getting new receivers. Or they could go the alternative and find a cheaper quarterback option somewhere else, because we know it's not Jarrett Stidham on their roster. So, and what about Tom Brady? If he decides to leave, he'll want to go to somewhere that can win right now, correct? He's not going to go to one of those up-and-coming young teams that'll maybe be something in 2 years. No. He don't want to play that game. He wants to win right now. He knows the end is coming soon. He wants one last hurrah today, right now. And let's take a look across the league. How many teams are out there right now who have quarterback issues and are ready to win right now? Who? I wrote down 2 teams. That's all I got. Chicago, the Bears, and the Chargers. Those are the only 2 I could think of. I wanted to say the Colts, but I don't think they have enough talent. So really only 2 teams. So the pickings are slim, correct? It's a very short list. So, with all that in mind, with maybe not that many suitors out there, maybe he just decides, and I know it's not the exciting one, it's not the one that's going to generate clicks and get people watching. The odds-on safe bet, in my opinion, is that Tom Brady stays in New England for at least another year or 2, ends his career there, and that's that. So, there you go. We're saying here at the podcast, Tom Brady will be the Patriots starter in 2020. All right? Next team up is a team that feels like it's been forgotten about, hasn't it? Because I know I'm going to say it and you're going to be like, why are we talking about this team? We're going to be talking about it because they need to answer some questions. And that's the Carolina Panthers. Feels like they've been forgotten about, haven't they? Remember about 2 months ago, it was like right before they fired Ron Rivera, and they were winning games with Kyle Allen, and everyone was reporting from Ian Rappaport to Adam Schefter that the current plan is that when it comes off-season time, they're going to get rid of Cam Newton. That was the plan. Then the bottom fell out. Kyle Allen hit the floor, Rivera got fired, and they put in Will Grier, the rookie, and he didn't do jack either. Then they hired Matt Rule, cleaned house, and then it just got really quiet. And it's been radio silent on the front of Cam Newton. So my question is, what are the Panthers doing at quarterback? Were the reports that they're going to ship him out at this offseason still accurate? Or is Matt Rule come in and pump the brakes? We don't know. There's just so much we don't know. And plus, the Panthers hired a passing game coordinator, Joe Brady from LSU, who helped engineer one of the greatest quarterback seasons of all time in college football. So that's a massive plus for them. So if Cam Newton sticks around and can help grow that system, that would be fantastic. But there's just so much we don't know about Carolina. We don't know the type of quarterback Joe Brady wants, and we don't know the type of quarterback that Matt Rule wants. Maybe Matt Rule wants a guy like, I don't know, Tua Tagovailoa? I don't know. We just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I do think if Cam stays there, he'll be set up. Well, whatever quarterback is there, they'll be set up pretty. You got Christian McCaffrey. You got DJ Moore. You got a couple other pieces. They have some talent, but it's just until somebody says something, we don't know. So once again, I'm taking the safe and boring option and saying that Cam Newton will be the Panthers starter in 2020. Because they're not really in position to draft one right now, and it just makes the most sense to keep him around. And I know you're thinking, this game is boring. He's taking all the boring picks. Well, I'm about to kick it up a notch and take a spicy one next. Are you ready for this? Third team, Chargers. If you didn't hear over the weekend, there were multiple people reporting that over the weekend, Phillip Rivers, do you want to call him the current Chargers quarterback? Because I don't know if we can still say that. The Chargers quarterback, let's say that, Phillip Rivers and his family have permanently moved out of their home in San Diego. What does this mean? Because his team played in LA and he moved out of his home in San Diego. I don't know what it means. It's up to anybody's conjecture. It's anyone's guess. But I think it's safe to assume that Phillip Rivers will not be the Chargers quarterback in 2020. So the question becomes, who will be their quarterback? Phillip Rivers has been their guy since what, 2005, 4? So like 15 years it's been the same guy. Who's it going to be now? There's going to be a number of quarterbacks on the market. Your Andy Daltons, for one, will be there. But here's a fun idea that I floated around to a few people via text message over the weekend. What if the Chargers' starting quarterback next year is none other than the guy that they originally drafted in 2004? That's right. I'm saying you'll finally get to see Eli Manning as a Los Angeles Charger, people. Ooh, doesn't that just feel like a spicy narrative? Ooh, it's just so funny. Now, I will admit, that sounds like a stretch. It gave me a good chuckle over the weekend. But that's not who I'm going to say is going to be their starting quarterback next year. No. I think the newest Chargers quarterback will be none other than Justin Herbert, the Oregon Ducks quarterback who is leaving to enter the draft. So, Chargers are picking around, off the top of my head, they're picking around 6th or 7th in the draft. So it's a top 10 pick, but it's right out of the top 5. So they won't necessarily have their pick of the litter at quarterback. We're expecting Joe Burrow to go number 1 to Cincinnati. We're also still expecting Miami to take Tua Tagovailoa at 5. So that's 2 off the board. Justin would be the highest remaining one to the Chargers at 6 or 7. It seems easy for me to say, go get a guy who kind of reminds me a little bit of Phillip Rivers. I mean, he's not necessarily a mobile guy. He's a straight-up pocket passer, which is what Phillip was. It seems like a slam dunk to me. So, I'm saying Chargers' first-round pick is Justin Herbert from Oregon, and that is who will be their starting quarterback in 2020. See, I told you we were going to get spicy with it. Now, last team up. The Chicago Bears. Man, the Bears really seem ready to die on this Mitch Trubisky hill, don't they? They sure are stubborn as hell, and I'll give them that. I'll give them hell. They're stubborn, but the writing is kind of on the wall, isn't it? It feels it is more than apparent that Trubisky shouldn't be starting for this team, but they'll do the stubborn thing and start him, and it's probably going to cost some people their jobs. Here's the thing, though, and this is kind of tricky, and I'm technically going to exploit a loophole. What if I told you the Bears could have their cake and somehow eat it too? Going into the offseason, everybody's going to be making these statements. Oh, the Bears should go get Andy Dalton. The Bears should make a trade for Cam Newton. Just mock drafts of every free agent quarterback possible to the Bears. But the Bears will make an offseason move to acquire a certain guy to come be a potential camp arm or a guy to inspire some competition with Trubisky, much like what the Titans did with Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota. They went and traded for Tannehill to be a competent backup, and then he eventually got the job. All right? So they go and get a certain specific guy this offseason to come in and help push Trubisky. And Trubisky will be the starting quarterback at the beginning of the 2020 season for the Bears. But I'm not done. Just at the beginning. Trubisky's play will continue to decline, much like it did this year. And with the season hanging in the balance, he is benched for that guy they brought in just to push Trubisky. And that guy? It's Marcus Mariota. Oh, yeah, that's juicy, isn't it? He fits exactly what Matt Nagy wants. A mobile quarterback who can throw. He's not going to light the world on fire, much like Trubisky, but he fits the Matt Nagy system to a T. And would you look at that? Marcus Mariota gets to do to Trubisky what Ryan Tannehill did to Marcus Mariota. Just come in and take that man's job. So, Trubisky will start the season, but he won't finish the season, as Marcus Mariota will be the new Chicago Bears quarterback by like week 6. So that was the first annual installment of Quarterback Carousel. See that? We had ending music, really ramping up production on this podcast. So that's all we have for today's show. Next time we talk will be Friday. We'll talk about the Pro Bowl. There really isn't much to talk about as of right now, but we'll find something to discuss and fill airtime with. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you all Friday. Bye.